Ahmed has reported with a good sanad that Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu narrated in a marfu' hadith, the most evil men are those upon whom the signs of the hour come while they are still alive, and those who take graves as places of worship.
Signs of the hour, they translate? That's incorrect. The correct translation of the hadith is the most evil amongst men are those that are alive when the day of judgment comes, not the signs of the day of judgment. The day of judgment itself comes. Okay, we are living at a time when the signs of the day of judgment are present, and inshallah we are not the most evil of men. Okay, not the signs of the day of judgment, rather the day of judgment itself. Okay, in other words, when the trumpet is blown, these are the people that will actually physically hear the trumpet. Okay, and this generation will be the most evil generation of all of mankind. The most evil generation of all of mankind will be those that are alive when the trumpet of the day of judgment is blown. Okay, we know then from the authentic narrations that after Isa comes down and he kills the Antichrist, the Masih al-Dajjal, he kills him. After this period of time, this will be one of the most prosperous times of history, and that the sheep will play with the wolves, and that the children will play with the snakes. Okay, this will be a time of great barakah. Now, what will occur after this time is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send a very beautiful or a very scented wind. And that wind will take away all of the believers. Anyone that has the smallest grain of iman in his heart will die when this wind is blown. So who will be left? He who doesn't even have this amount of iman in his heart. And this is the time when the very name of Allah will be forgotten. This is the time when the Quran itself will be raised back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the time when the kalima la ilaha illallah, many people will not even know it. They will say, we found our ancestors upon this statement la ilaha illallah. We don't even know what it means. Okay? And so at this point in time, the trumpet will be blown. So these people will be the worst of mankind out of all of the creation. So the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is saying that the worst of mankind are those that will be alive when the trumpet is blown, and those that built masjids over graves. Those that built masjids over graves. Why are these the worst of mankind? Because this is an act that leads to major shirk. And we already talked about the dangers of major shirk and the evils of major shirk. So the point is that the worst of the creation of Allah are two categories. The first category is what? Those that are alive when the trumpet is blown. And the second category is anyone, any person that builds a masjid over a grave. And look at the evils of this act. And I tell you, subhanAllah, there are literally thousands and millions of places on the face of this earth where Muslims have built graves, have built masjids over graves. Literally thousands and millions of places all over the Muslim world where they build their masjids over graves. And yet the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is saying that these people are the worst of the creation in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now the question arises, what do we do if we find this type of masjid? Well, firstly, without any doubt, it is haram. It is forbidden to pray in that masjid. It is absolutely forbidden to pray in a masjid where there is a grave. Okay, this is something which is clear to anyone after he reads this hadith. If the people that did these acts are cursed and the worst of creation, do you think then that this place can be called a masjid? No. Secondly, if we are in authority, if we have any say in the matter, if we have power, in the sense a physical power, not just in the sense that we have been given political power, not just a physical power, but a political power, then we look at the situation of this masjid. If the masjid were existent before the grave, in other words, there was a masjid there, and then someone put a grave inside the masjid, then we remove the grave and we leave the masjid. In the sense, we dig up the grave, we take the corpse out, and we bury it in the proper place. So the masjid then becomes a proper masjid. However, if the grave was existent before the masjid, then we destroy the masjid and we turn that place into a graveyard. So we look at which of the two aspects occurred before. If we have political authority, if we have the power to change that situation, then we look at which of the two occurred before that. Okay? And we then take the ruling of the earlier case. If it was a grave first and then a masjid was built, we destroy the masjid and we turn that into a graveyard. However, if it were a masjid first and then a grave was added to the masjid, then we dig up that grave, we dig up that dead corpse, and we move it to the actual graveyard, and that masjid then becomes pure again. Also, we should realize that it is forbidden. What do we take in our fiqh class? What are the places that it is forbidden to worship? A cemetery, a grave. And these hadith also prove that too. That Allah's curse is upon those people that offer their salah or their prayers next to a grave. Now this chapter, by the way, doesn't just include salah. It includes any type of worship. If you go to the grave of a pious person and make a dua there, thinking that your dua is going to be accepted better, then this is the curse of Allah is upon this type of person. Now, what if you were to actually pray to this person? What type of act is this? Major shirk. Suppose you were to pray to Allah, but at the grave of this person. This is minor shirk. Okay? You're praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you think that because you're next to this grave, you think that because you are praying at this quote-unquote holy place, then your prayer is going to be accepted by Allah. Your dua will be accepted, your charity will be accepted, your salah will be accepted. This is minor shirk. If your intention is for Allah, but you're doing it at this place, this is minor shirk. But if your intention is for this grave itself, then this is major shirk. Okay? Now, obviously, the only exception is Salatul Janazah. Okay? The only exception to this rule is the Janazah prayer, in which case it is allowed to bring the body of the person inside the masjid, and you pray the Janazah inside the masjid. This is because this is a special type of salah, which you don't do ruku' or sujood for. Okay? You're allowed to bring the body inside, and you do Salatul Janazah at this place, and then you take it to the grave. Likewise, some ulama, they say that if you were not able to catch the Janazah prayer, you're allowed to go to the graveyard and pray Salatul Janazah. Only Salatul Janazah. This is because Janazah prayer is a prayer that you make to Allah for the dead man. Okay? And it does not include ruku' or sujood. So this is the one exception to the general rule. Otherwise, apart from this, any type of prayer that you offer, or any type of dua that you offer there, thinking that your dua is going to be accepted more, this is a type of minor shirk. Okay? Now, next chapter.
Chapter number 21.
Questions at the end.
Exaggeration in the graves of the righteous persons tends them to become idols worshipped besides Allah.
Okay, obviously a very related chapter. The chapter before this was concerning the fact that if you worship Allah at the grave of a righteous man, then this has been condemned in the Quran and Sunnah. Now the next chapter says if you worship Allah at the grave of a righteous man, this leads this grave to become an idol. This will automatically lead to the fact that this place becomes a place of worship besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It becomes a place of shirk. Naam.